So a warm welcome to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about a new topic in business research methods. It is a research process. A research process will have a different phases. It starts with identification of the broad problem area and ends with writing a research reports. At the middle, there are various segments will come into the picture, like identifying the problem area, the first one, and the second one, reviewing the literature related to the problem area, and the third one, setting research questions, research objectives, and the hypothesis. It is third one, and the fourth one, choosing the study design, the research design, and the fifth one, deciding on the sample design, and the sixth one, collecting data, which includes primary and secondary data sources. Seventh one, processing and analyzing the data, and the eighth one, writing the report. So all these are the various phases which will come under in the research process. So one after one we will discuss in depth. So the first one, identifying the problem area. As and when we clearly identify the research problem area, half of the solution might have been derived. So identifying the problem area plays a very crucial role, and there should not be any ambivalent while we are identifying a problem area. There should not be any ambivalent, any confusion, and it should be very systematic, and it should be more transparent, and it should give a clear-cut idea about the problem. It should give a clear-cut idea about the problem. And in fact, the research problem area, it should not be too long, or it should not be too short, or it should not include any jargon language, and it should not include too much scientific words when we are trying to identify a problem area. So that's the reason why a research problem, a research statement should give a clear idea about a particular problem area. And not only we, if anybody sees that particular problem area, they should be able to identify exactly what is the problem area. So that's the reason why defining an effective research problem will be half of the solution might have been derived. Half of the solution might have been derived. So that tells that when you define a research problem more accurately, then automatically it tells that the half of the solution we have been derived. Right. So that's the reason why, and identifying the research problem, which plays a very crucial role. Suppose it comes to the social science researchers, especially in business management, suppose a study on employee performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, Gudur. It's very clear. A study on. So what we are trying to conduct, in which stream that you are trying to conduct a research, a performance appraisal system. The concept is a performance appraisal system where you are trying to conduct. In Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited. Where is it located? At Gudur. So a title, it is very clear. A study on performance appraisal system, the concept from HR, in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited at Gudur. So likewise, when you try to define a particular problem area, it should be more accurate, and it should be more specific in nature. And when you define a problem area in such a manner, half of the problem has been solved, and remaining the rest, 50% solution only the pending that we need to identify. So that's the reason why identifying the problem area plays a very crucial role in every research. So that's the reason why it will take a longer time to specify our problem area, what we want to identify, where we are, and what we are going to identify. Right. The second one, the reviewing of literature. So the review of literature will tell you about gathering of past 10 to 15 years of the data which is related to the problem area, will give us a very clear insight about that particular problem area. So when you try to gather from past 10 to 15 years of the past data related to the problem area, will give you a clear-cut insight about that particular problem area. So what is our problem area? A performance appraisal system in MNC. a performance appraisal system in MNC, right? So the performance appraisal system, it's not unique. It is a common. The same performance appraisal system we can see in so many companies. The performance appraisal system in the pharmaceutics industry, the performance appraisal system in the steel industry, the performance appraisal system in cement industry, the performance appraisal system in electronic, technology-based enabled industries. So the performance appraisal system, it is common in all industries. So what we are trying to do here in the sense, how this performance appraisal system actually is happening in various industries, when you try to collect the data, at least from 5 to 10 years or from 10 to 15 years related to the performance appraisal system related information from various companies, with the help of from magazines, journals, newspapers, and the company performance appraisal reports, and from various sources, especially the journals and the magazines and the company published and unpublished data. So when you can able to take up such kind of information related to that particular problem area from past 10 to 15 years, it will give you a very clear insight about that particular problem area. So based on that, we can able to write much literature related to that particular problem area, how it is happening in various companies. Now, what exactly is happening in this company, wherever we are trying to conduct a research, how it is going to happen in this company. So as and when you have a clear-cut idea about that particular problem area, by reviewing the past literature, right? In latter course, we can conduct a research, the specified area, the performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited in an accurate manner, because of already we collected lot of literature related to the particular problem area. We already collected a lot much literature related to that particular problem area. So that's how this literature review will help us a lot to drive our research in a systematic manner. And it comes to the next one. So as we know, every research will start with the broad problem identification, followed by the heart of the research, the objectives of the study. The heart of the research, the objectives of the study, and followed by research design and a preparation of questionnaire. So the setting research objectives and the research questions and hypothesis, which speaks about, suppose, what is our problem area now? A study on performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, Gudu. My objectives are like this. To know the opinion of performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, to study the performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, to evaluate the methods of performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, to suggest the best measures for the development of performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited. So what it will tell, we need to formulate a list of objectives which is linked with our problem area. Here, one more thing what we need to understand, the research objectives need to be aligned with the problem area. Unless otherwise, the problem area and the research objectives are not aligned with each other, we cannot drive our research in the same direction. The research and its outcome will be deviated. The research and its related outcome will be deviated. So that's the reason why what we need to do is our research objectives should be strongly aligned with, strongly linked with the problem area. The same likewise, even the questionnaire include questions are tightly aligned with the objectives of the research. Unless otherwise, these three things, the problem identification, the objectives of the research, and the questionnaire preparation, and these things are not tightly aligned with each other, ultimately the research will go in a wrong direction. So that's the reason why we need to formulate more effectively the research objectives, the statement of the problem, and the hypothesis of the research. So as we know, we learned the hypothesis, and a hypothesis is a tentative assumption statement. So every research will start with, after identification of the problem area, after reviewing of the literature, a research will start with the formulation of hypothesis. And a hypothesis, it is a tentative assumption statement, right? We need to formulate a hypothesis. So in fact, it includes two different types: a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. A null hypothesis will tell you about what? There is no significant difference between two variables. The alternative hypothesis will tell you about what? There is a significant relationship between two variables. Even this significant relationship may be positive or negative. Anyway, there is a significant positive relationship between two variables. So a hypothesis, it is a tentative assumption statement after formulation of a research problem, after reviewing of the literature. We need to formulate the hypothesis. So after that, what we are trying to do is we are trying to collect the data, we are trying to analyze the data, we are trying to prepare a report, and we are trying to submit the report to the management. So a hypothesis, it is a tentative assumption statement. In fact, we know it comprises of two things: null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. And null hypothesis will tell you about what? There is no relationship between the two variables. Alternative hypothesis, there is a significant positive relationship between the two variables. Suppose in this context, how we can able to take an example? Our problem area is a study on performance appraisal system in Tirumala Milk Products Private Limited, Gudu. Now, the hypothesis here, what is that? There is no, or otherwise, there is a significant positive relationship between educational qualifications of the employees with respect to performance appraisal system. General phenomena. When the people, the higher the educational qualifications, obviously the performance of the employee will be higher, so that the performance appraisal also higher. The second hypothesis, there is a significant positive relationship between employee experience with respect to performance appraisal system. Suppose higher the experience of employee, higher the performance, lower the experience of the employee, lower the performance. So the performance appraisal may have a relationship with the employee experience. So here, if we can able to formulate two different kinds of alternative hypothesis, what is that? There is a significant positive relationship between educational qualifications of the respondents with respect to performance appraisal system. The second one, there is a significant positive relationship between experience of the employees with respect to performance appraisal system. So that's how we can able to formulate the hypothesis in the organization. So even after identifying the problem area, the heart of the research, the formulation of the objectives of the research, followed by a statement of the problem, followed by a formulation of the hypothesis. The formulation of the hypothesis, it is two types, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So when you go for the next one, choosing the study design. So a research design, it has its own role, a crucial role in the research. A research design comprises of three types. That is what we call it as the descriptive research design, exploratory research design, causal research design. Right? The descriptive research design, so I will tell you in very clear-cut manner. In fact, whatever the concepts that we are going to discuss, each and every topic, it is a one unit. So that will fall under in third unit, fourth unit, and fifth unit. But I will give you, an overall view. Okay, a research design comprises of three types: descriptive research design, exploratory research design, causal research design. What is descriptive research design? A problem is known, and what we are trying to do is we are going for identifying a best decision to that particular problem area. So descriptive research design will tell you a problem is known, then why we are conducting a research in the sense for the sake of solution? For the sake of solution, right? So how we are able to conduct a research in that particular area in the sense by posing a number of questions over there. What was happened, when it was happened, how it was happened, where it was happened, who is the culprit behind happening of that particular incident. The descriptive research design, it's trying to identify the characteristics of the phenomena. We are trying to identify the characteristics of the phenomena by posing a number of questions like this. What was happened, when it was happened, how it was happened, where it was happened, and who is the culprit behind the happening of the particular incident. By posing these kind of questions, we can come up with a best possible solution. We can come up with a best possible solution. That's what we call it as a decision making. That's what we call it as a decision making. Right? So in descriptive research design, the problem area is known. Then why we are conducting a research in the sense for the sake of effective decision making. Now the second one, exploratory research. The problem is new, and as usual, the solution also new. The problem is not known. However, the solution also not known. We need to start the research from the grassroots level onwards. We need to start the research from grassroots level point onwards. That is what we call the exploratory research. The best example for exploratory research, the COVID-19, the coronavirus. Now, before December 2019, it was not there. It is new, right? So that's the reason why the problem area is new, right? At the same time, the solution also new. So when you don't know about the problem area, at the same time, when you don't know about the solution, that is what we call it as the causal research. Sorry, that's what we call it as the exploratory research. That's what we call it as the exploratory research. So we need to start the research from the grassroots level onwards. That is what we call it as the concept of exploratory research. The best example for exploratory research, where now 140 plus countries are working to come up with a medicine, to come up with a vaccine for the coronavirus, right? So that is the best example for exploratory research, right? But in most of the situations in social science research, research belongs to a descriptive research, but it's not a exploratory research, because in most of the situations, especially in social science research, the problem areas are known. The problem areas are known. Then why we are conducting a research over there in the sense for the sake of effective decision making. But when it comes to exploratory research, the exploratory research in most of the situations, it will happen in technological evidences, scientific evidences, and drug inventions, and medicine inventions, and vaccine inventions. In such scenarios, we can able to see this exploratory research. Now, third one, we call it as the causal research. The causal research, it depends on the cause and effect. Right? For every action, we will have a reaction, right? So that is what we call it as the causal research. In causal research, we might have seen this kind of causal research in chemistry laboratory. When you add 1% of so and so chemical, what is the output? When you add X ingredient, what is the output? When you add Y ingredient, what is the output? Right? So that is what we call it as the causal research. We might have come across this kind of research in physics research and chemistry research, and in moreover in medicinal sort of research, this cause and effect research can be seen, right? And the next one, when you go for choosing the study, deciding on the sample design. The deciding on the sample design, talk about two different areas. That's what we call the probability sampling and non-probability sampling. The probability sampling will run on the basis of probability, whereas non-probability sampling will run on the basis of non-probability. So when it is a probability, random sampling will come into the picture. That means all items in the population are having equal chances to pick up. That's what we call the probability. When you take up a population of 100, all the 100 items are having a similar chances to take up a sample. That's what we call the probability way of measurement. A non-probability way of measurement, in a sense, we through certain guidelines, through certain parameters, we are taking to we are going for picking up some portion of the sample, judgment and sampling, quota sampling, convenience sampling. So these kind of things will comes under the non-probability sampling. So there is no probability, there is no randomness in non-probability sampling. So again, it will comes under the two different scenarios: the finite population and infinite population. The finite population will talk about what? Items in the population can be countable. That is what we call the finite population. Suppose the employees in the organization, when you can able to take a register, register roll number 1 to roll number 5,000 employees in the organization, it's easily countable. That's what we call the finite population. What is infinite population? Stars in the sky, fishes in the ocean. The best example, stars in the sky, it is an infinite population. It's not possible to count how many stars are there. Correct? That's what we call infinite population. The finite population, where the items in the population can be counted, that's what we call the finite population. Right? So all these things, on what basis that we are trying to pick up the sample size, whether on the basis of a simple random sampling, a stratified random sampling, cluster random sampling, multi-stage sampling, on what basis that we are trying to pick up a sample, that is a concept related to deciding on the sample design. Again, it is entirely total 1 unit, research design and sampling design, totally 1 unit. So I'm giving you an idea with respect to this particular process, because we are in the first unit. So here, on what basis you are trying to pick up the sample size? On the basis of simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, cluster random sampling, multi-stage sampling. There were so many sampling techniques will come into the picture. On what basis that you are trying to pick up a sample? That is important. Now, collecting data. As we know, the collecting of data, as we learned in statistics first semester, the collection of data plays 2 types: primary data sources and secondary data sources. The primary data sources, where researcher will collect with his own efforts. The secondary data sources, where researcher secondary data sources are the sources. Data is already collected by someone, may be kept in any form, like the secondary data sources, textbooks, journals, and the magazines, reference books, guides, and Indian Statistical Institution reports, company sales data, and the company balance sheet data, and the testimonial records, the brochures, the pamphlets, the leaflets, and the company valuable records, the production records, the daily production records, monthly production records, weekly production records. It's all about will comes under the secondary data sources. Okay. So collection of data, it will happen in 2 different ways: the primary data sources and secondary data sources. A primary data source is a source where a researcher will collect the data with his own efforts. The methods of primary data sources includes questionnaire, interview, observations. The secondary data sources are numerous. Already we discussed. So in fact, research will start with the data collection related to the secondary data sources. When we will start the research by collecting secondary data sources, the literature review, secondary data sources, unless otherwise, if the data is not available from the sources of a secondary data sources, you will take the advantage of primary data sources. Right? And the next one, processing and analyzing data. So how we can able to process the collected data need to be tabulated and need to be arranged in the form of rows and columns, and the data cleaning, the data cleansing sort of things should be conducted, and the systematically need to store the data in the form of rows and columns. Later on, we will take the advantage of statistics, which includes descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So we will try to apply various types of tests for analyzing the data, like the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics with the help of GUI interface, like line chart, bar chart, column chart, pie chart, scatter plot chart, area chart. With the help of various kinds of descriptive statistics, mean, median, mode, measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, quartile deviation, standard deviation, variance. So all these things will fall under the descriptive research design. So we are trying to analyze the data with the help of descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, even with the help of parametric tests and non-parametric tests. We are trying to analyze the data. And finally, when you try to analyze the data, you can able to prepare a summary report. You need to prepare a summary report, a research report. In a systematic research report will be prepared, and this report we are trying to submit to the top level management. And if they find any flaws, again we need to start the research from the area of defining the problem area. So that's the reason why research, it is a a systematic manner. It goes in a systematic procedure from the identification of the problem area to and to the end of the writing the research report. A research will goes in a systematic manner, which has nearly 8 different kinds of phases: a problem identification, reviewing of past literature related to the problem area, setting research objectives, setting research questions, setting a hypothesis, choosing the research design, which includes descriptive research design, exploratory research design, causal research design, deciding the sample design, probability sampling, non-probability sampling, finite sampling and infinite sampling, collection of data, primary data and secondary data, processing and analyzing data with the help of descriptive and inferential statistics. We will try to analyze the data, we will try to process, we will try to tabulate it, we will try to systematically, we will tabulate it in the form of rows and columns for effective analysis. And finally, we will try to prepare a research report and we will submit it to the management. So this is what the various steps which are included in the research process. In future, we will discuss each and individual component in an in-depth manner. Thank you.